According to statistics, car accidents cause over 40,000 fatalities and on average 2 million serious or permanent injuries every year in the United States. Unfortunately, it has been reported that these numbers continue to rise despite improvements in automobile safety features. Perhaps the reason is the number of drivers on the road. In 2019, there were more than 227 million licensed drivers in the United States, according to carinsurance.net. Serious vehicular accidents are terrifying and catastrophic to be involved in on many different levels, physically, emotionally, financially. Having a good attorney to pursue compensation for you after a car accident is important because the process can be incredibly difficult even when all involved parties are insured. With me today to explain what to do if you or a loved one is involved in a serious automobile accident is Brad Bernstein's partner, personal injury attorney, Moshe the Bulldozer Borukh. How are you? How you doing today?
Hey, Brad, it is good to be back.
So, Moshe, you do this all the time. What's the first thing somebody should be doing if they get into a car accident?
When you're involved in a car accident, the first obvious common sense thing to do is to call the police. The first thing you want is to document exactly what happened, how it happened, and why it happened. Take out your phone if you can, take videos, take pictures, as much information as possible.
Should you be calling an ambulance too?
Of course, if you're injured and you can, and obviously your hands are working, your Bluetooth is working, you want to call the ambulance.
The longer you take to get treated, the more likely it is that an insurance company can argue that your injuries did not result from a car accident, happened somewhere else.
Brad, that is an excellent point. Now, a lot of people, when they get into a car accident, they don't realize that your whole body has adrenaline rushing everywhere, even to the injured body parts, which you won't even know until probably a couple of hours or even maybe a day later. So instead of telling, or asking yourself, should I do it now or later when the pain comes and goes, do it immediately at the scene of the accident. Have yourself examined, have a doctor evaluate you, and document that immediately after the accident you wanted medical attention. Now, a more important point is having an EMS take you from the scene to the emergency room. Why? Because that'll show that you are seriously injured. Because as you know, Brad, one of the things you have to prove in any motor vehicle accident is that you suffered a serious injury. So if you show that an EMS ambulance took you from the scene of the accident to the emergency room as opposed to taking your car, taking it home, having something to eat, and then presenting to the emergency room, the first instance is better because you've just showed the insurance company that you had to be taken from the scene to the emergency room.
Now a lot of people are saying, whoa. Okay, yeah, I'm hurt. Yeah, I'm in pain.
Okay.
I don't want to pay these medical bills. I'm not paying this ambulance. I'm going to drive myself. I don't have medical insurance. I don't have Obamacare. What do? I don't want to pay for this stuff.
All right. So it's a good question. So luckily in the New York State, it's a no-fault state, which means regardless of whose fault the accident was, your bills, your medical bills, time out of work, will be paid for exclusively by the no-fault insurance company, again, regardless of whose fault the accident was.
Now, I'm going to ask you another question, because someone says, whoa, I'm hurt, but the last thing I need is to have my car insurance rates go up. As soon as I go to the hospital, my car insurance rates going up?
So in an ideal world, it should not go up because that's what no-fault means. In exchange for the no-fault laws, what you do have as an outset is the serious injury threshold, which means, yes, the insurance companies will pay for your medical bills, they will pay for your out-of-pocket expenses, your lost wages, but in return, to be able to be compensated for pain and suffering, you must show the insurance company you've suffered a serious injury.
What do you mean by serious injury?
All right, so pursuant to New York Insurance Law 5102, you have to suffer a serious injury. The law defines that into several categories. One example is a broken bone, a fracture. Even a fractured tooth does constitute a serious injury.
So if you don't have a fracture or a broken bone, you can't have an automobile case? Serious
Absolutely
injury?
not. So there's about 9 categories, all right? There's a significant limitation of a body part, which is usually what people who don't have, when you don't have fractures, fall under the significant
like I
limitation.
can't move my arm as much as I used to or something like that.
Correct. So if a doctor medically determines that, for example, your shoulder doesn't go up in range of motion as much, he can deem you physically disabled and subsequently have a significant limitation of that body part. That will suffice.
Now, what is the difference? We practice personal injury exclusively in New York and New Jersey. Immigration is obviously all 50 states and around the world. But in New York and New Jersey, where we practice personal injury, is there a difference between getting in an automobile accident in New York versus an automobile accident in New Jersey?
So in New Jersey, the policy limits, which means the bodily injury limits, are $15,000. That means anybody who's driving in New Jersey, if they have a registered vehicle in New Jersey, you must have at least $15,000 of bodily injury coverage. As opposed to in New York, there's $25,000 of bodily injury coverage. Now, I want the viewers to understand there's a difference between bodily injury coverage and no-fault insurance medical coverage, all right? The PIP coverage, personal injury protection in New York, is $50,000, which means as long as your medical expenses and your out-of-pocket expenses, your lost wages don't accrue up above $50,000, the insurance company will pay up to that amount, unless you procure and purchase an more expensive coverage, which 90% of Americans, and New Yorkers specifically, don't do.
So what happens after you reach that $50,000 limit?
So what happens then is your no-fault benefits are what we call exhausted. Once that is exhausted, your attorney should advise you whether you should continue to treat, if you need the treatment based on your doctor's prescription. And if you exhaust your policy, either your personal insurance kicks in, and if you don't have personal insurance, your attorneys will instruct you on what you should do after that.
So now let me ask you a question. We just told everybody what they should do if they get into an automobile accident. What should you not be doing?
So I see this a lot. A lot of people are speaking to the adverse vehicles insurance company. So you get into a car accident, somebody rear ends you, and what happens is that insurance company, the person who struck you, get in contact with you and say, look, we're willing to pay you $5,000 if you sign this piece of paper right now and hold us harmless and release us from any liability.
That happens.
It happens more often than you think, Brad. And people who don't know how the law operates don't realize how serious their injury may be enticed by the $5,000.
But why would somebody say, oh, wait a second, I'm not hurt, at least at the moment.
Because
I'm not hurt at the moment. Why should I go to an attorney? I'm going to get some free $5,000 right now. What's an attorney going to do? They're just going to take some legal fees from me, and I'm going to end up with the same less than $5,000.
Well, here's the good news. Our law firm, the law offices of Spar and Bernstein, does not take a single penny until we settle the matter. So we can spend thousands of dollars on your case, but until we settle your matter, we don't take a fee. So although you might get $5,000 initially from that insurance company, you could have gotten $150,000 from our office at the conclusion of your settlement. So while the $5,000 might sound very convincing in the beginning, it's not worth it in the long run because our office can more likely than not get you much more than that.
Tell me, Moshe, why you need a strong attorney to be representing you in situations like this and what you're going to do different than the guy who meets you at the hospital and says, here, take my card.
You only have one bite at the apple. Brad, you say this all the time. Do not take any risks when it comes to your personal injury case. This is your well-being we're talking about. If you are injured, you need an attorney who understands how insurance companies operate, what they're willing to pay, and how far they're willing to go. Brad, as you know, we're a trial firm. If the insurance company doesn't want to pay what we think is fair and reasonable compensation, guess what, Brad? We're going to trial. We have zero hesitation to do that. So you must ask yourselves, do you want this to prolong for 6 years with an inexperienced attorney who has no idea what he's doing? Or do you want fair and reasonable compensation at the fastest pace possible?
Give me one of your success stories.
So thinking off the top of my head, we had a client who was rear-ended in a motor vehicle accident on the, I believe it was a Throgs Neck Bridge. Both vehicles didn't have a single scratch on them. And I mean that literally, Brad. One of the defenses in the case from the defendants was that there couldn't possibly have been any damage to our client's back because the bumpers, the front and the rear of both cars were perfectly intact. Now, one of the arguments I made at trial, and this went to trial because they didn't want to pay anything, when a motor vehicle is built, it's built to withstand the impacts that were presented in this accident. But when the human body is made, obviously, the human body is not built to withstand those type of impacts.
God didn't make a human body to be full of steel.
And so we proved, obviously with medical documentation and evidence and testimony, that our client was severely damaged as a result of this motor vehicle accident. It started with muscle spasm. He went to get an MRI. It showed herniations and bulges to his back, and we convinced the jury to give us 6 figures in this trial.
Over $100,000.
Exactly.
From zero. That shows the type of law firm that we are. We have results in millions and millions of dollars. Millions of dollars because we were able to present to a jury or an insurance company serious life-threatening injuries. But I would say this, and we don't want anyone to get into an accident. Please buckle up. We want you to be safe. But we also know that over 40,000 fatalities happen every year, and there's millions and millions of accidents every year in the United States, New York State being one of the most accident-prone states in the United States of America. And as Moshe, the Bulldozer Borukh said, when you get into an accident, you have one opportunity to get the largest pie you can. You don't get second opportunities. Please make sure you're compensated with a big pie. And how do you do that? Pick your attorneys wisely. And if you think Spar and Bernstein, Moshe the Bulldozer Borukh is the attorney for you, then the best thing you should do, and I always say this, you just put our number in your telephone, save it, 1-800-529-5465. You never know when you'll need it. Hope you never have to call it. But if you do, we're here 24 hours a day, literally, to help you. Right, Moshe?
That's right.
Moshe, fantastic job. Prior successful results do not guarantee a similar outcome in the future. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.